I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Oh boy.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Well, hello and welcome in to Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. It has been a cloudy and now in some cases a somewhat stormy day. A lot of us still waiting on some meaningful moisture. I think we'll have some of that ahead for a few of us over the next couple of days, but those chances aren't terribly impressive. As we bring in here to the Room to Room Weather Center at 5 p.m., spotty storms tonight are the story. We'll look at where some of those are depicted here in just a couple of moments. Rain chances, I think, probably peak for tomorrow at maybe 40%. Maybe we're overdoing that a little bit, because if we are, it gets pretty rough in a hurry after that, as we're thinking the drought that has been in place not going to improve a whole lot with the extended forecast as drier air comes in, and we're looking at hotter conditions as we go toward this upcoming weekend. So our hour-by-hour forecast on the first 12 here, looking at 86 degrees as we look toward around 6 p.m. Again, there will be some spots where there's some rainfall out there. That is our better chance for rainfall this evening through now until around 9 p.m. or so. 80 degrees at 9 p.m. temperature, and I think we'll have limited rain chances to continue throughout the overnight time period, but I think most of those out of here after maybe 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning. We'll show you on Futurecast a few of those trying to linger for a couple locations. And then as we head toward early tomorrow morning, mid-70s, which is pretty warm out there to begin the day on these southerly winds that have kind of built those temperatures. We do have a couple of stronger thunderstorms that we are tracking near Crenshaw out in the Delta. One of those locations, you can see the building storm there. That feels like temperature 99, temperature 95. That, of course, helping to bubble up with some of these thunderstorms as we look at a few of those developing storms. And it seems like the WASPs are on almost every one of these cameras today. So we'll probably see that on a couple of these here in a minute. Caledonia, some of those storms developing. And this one on the far, I guess that'd be right-hand part of the screen there, the one that's getting a little bit stronger. Yeah, a couple WASPs on that one as well. Let's look at this as we bring in a Mississippi Live Weather radar here. And again, some showers that have kind of popped up in the last little bit. This is Columbus. Of course, we're looking near the Mayhew area at this point. We'll go ahead and put this into motion, look at a 1 hour loop here. These thunderstorms just now developing, and unfortunately we're still having to look at these from quite a distance away over there in the Birmingham area, because the radar there in Monroe County, still some repairs on that there. Gabe will talk a little bit more about what they're doing based on what we know now coming up at 6 o'clock. So again, just some pop-up showers here. I think the main issue with these, honestly, is the brief heavy rainfall that we're seeing out of them. When we kind of, what I'm going to assess on this, I think we're going to look here. I'm going to switch sides for a moment. I'm a little better at running this from this side here. So this is from Birmingham. We're going to look at the threats and see if it detects any sort of impressive threats. It does have some maybe small hail possible out of this just north of Mayhew there. Of course, there's Columbus proper, and then a lot of heavy rainfall with that as well. Rainfall rates pretty high on all these thunderstorms here. So as a clear that off, we'll bring it back to the regular precipitation mode. What I don't have, actually, as we check the wind, the wind's not overly impressive there. Of course, we're looking pretty high up, so we don't expect to see that show up with impressive numbers on that. The reason I have not placed a storm track on that, by the way, is these are kind of just popping up where they are. We don't have a lot of motion at this point here, so I do expect some heavier rainfall amounts. Again, one of those spots where in that small band there, someone is lucky enough to see that. Up here, there's Red Bay. We're looking south and west of Florence. There are some storms that have kind of popped up in the last little bit. Again, notice how they don't really move. This is a 1 hour loop, and notice how some of those there, they just kind of pop up and they die in the exact same spots. So it's a sign that, again, not a lot of movement with these storms today, and so it's possible your neighbor gets a bunch and you get very, very little. As we come up here toward locations in the northern part of the state, actually I'm going to come in toward Ripley and Corinth again, where I'm looking at all these area radars that aren't our closest one typically, because of course Monroe County is down. These remain pretty small even from that radar site over there in the Memphis area, but we're looking at Alcorn County there, the western part of the county. Again, we check some of the rainfall amounts out of this. Let's see, Memphis radar. And I think I actually might have to look at the tower radar to check some rainfall rates on these. And where we see some of the purples there, we do have, of course, have some very, very heavy rainfall showing up with that. But our 3 hour rainfall amounts pretty limited. As we kind of bring this back to the current time there, you'll see that we come in where that green is, maybe half an inch if you're absolutely super duper lucky on that. And that's probably more the exception to the rule than the rule outside of that one spot. A couple there in West Alabama, but that's pretty much it. So we also mentioned kind of on the top, we're watching some of these thunderstorms out here toward Greenville. There are more out there into Louisiana. Again, long ways away for some folks there that are heavier and stronger. I point that out to say heavy rainfall, main issue with that, and some of our projections do have a few more of those developing closer to us. So that is a possibility later in the evening. Again, we will look at that with Futurecast. We're up here toward Cleveland and Shelby and Greenville. Again, heavier rainfall with this. Those storms just kind of popping up there right along 61 at this time, and not much movement. So again, it is the heavy rainfall even on these. I'm going to look at the various threats for a moment here, kind of check again Memphis radar. We're looking at the threats. And you can see this is coding in as just rainfall out of this here. You can see that at the top there, heavy rain, hail, strong winds. In this case, mainly heavy rainfall. So hopefully a sign that, that things overall aren't too terribly strong. And again, we do have some lighter showers out here closer to Philadelphia and down south of the area at this point. So wider shot, much wider shot. Again, telling the weather story on this here. Let's see if we can widen that out just a little bit more to show you. Most of the thunderstorms, again, down in South Mississippi. And once again, like the last few days, it's just everywhere, but here it's a little heavier, despite the fact it's spotty. We do have this kind of weak low down here in the northern Gulf of Mexico. You can just kind of see the motion right here, right? That is going to kind of lift northward, and I think mainly northeast. We're going to get caught with just a little bit of that. That's part of where our rain chances get slightly better over the course of the next couple of days. But it really is the ridges of high pressure both directions that are probably more the story for us. I'm going to bring this over to our satellite perspective here and kind of show you what we have going on. Again, all the colors indicating the colder cloud tops. That's what the colors in this case are. You can generally see how there's generally clockwise in this whole area. That means the big story remains high pressure, right? The big H there. I know we have a surface one out there, and we arguably have one kind of back out toward the west as well, but the overall big ridge here is what's driving things, and it's continuing to drive the activity out of the Gulf of Mexico and up toward us. So that typically would be a scenario where we expected to maybe have slightly better moisture, and it just has not been the case at this point, unfortunately, and I think we're going to be kind of in the drier slot on this. So as you can see on Futurecast, some of the pop-up storms, we show one there heavier closer to Vaden, and again, that is an example of one of those locations back when we were looking to Louisiana. So we're trying to figure out whether or not that's going to be fully into our area. We're hoping we need some moisture. Our better chances, I think, probably come tomorrow. So most of these, though, out of here as we head to the overnight hours. Still a couple spotty storms possible that do continue into the overnight time period. And while we have this front to the north and west to get closer, if you're hoping for any colder temperatures from that, that is not the case. So again, starting off with maybe the smallest of rain chances initially tomorrow morning. We're 82 by 9 a.m., 88 degrees by noontime, 90 by afternoon, and that rain coverage up to 30 to 40%. The thinking is, again, heavy rainfall, lightning, maybe a couple of gusts of strong wind, but I think more often than not, it's not going to peak at a case as far as that is concerned there. Okay, so coming up in 60 seconds, of course, the latest on where things are showing up in Mississippi Live Weather Radar. We're also looking ahead at the temperatures that are heating up a ton. And that could be a dry heat. I know that's one of those things that sounds weird because this is the South, so it's not like Arizona, but I think drier air could get us closer to the triple-digit point. We're tracking when as Mississippi Live Weather continues, live from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
As a nurse, I've seen a lot of people with sleep deprivation. It affects their job, their home life. At Room to Room, we want to take the guesswork out of buying a mattress, and that's why we brought in this technology. It shows you what you need. We want to do the assessment and find exactly what's perfect for you.
At Absolute Restoration, our team will feel magical since our focus is on serving you and your roofing needs. Finding a roofer who actually shows up and communicates, that's just one of the problems we solve by informing you of every step in the process.
Selling premium roofing systems backed by warranties and payment plans starting at just $99 per month. Trust Absolute Restoration to deliver.
Experience unicorn-level service and affordability from a team your community trusts. Call Absolute Restoration today.
For more than 100 years, First Choice Bank has provided dedicated community banking to North Mississippi. The banking products and services you need when you need them. At First Choice, you're our priority. Make First Choice your choice for banking.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobheim.
And on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, I think the strongest in our area at this point is this storm that we have down here toward Lowndes County. This would be, of course, that intersection there between 45 alternate and US 82. Once that name drops off the bottom there, you can see it close to Mayhew there. So this is just a little bit to the west, east of that intersection. I'll see if I can pull up our Columbus camera there. Give me a moment to see how this populates in. I think we have a shot there, kind of looking back toward the west, and it would be this one in the corner, so it looks like it's going to be just a little bit too far off of that one, unfortunately. So not a good angle on that storm. As we look three-dimensionally on it, that's one way, of course, we like to assess these, and we're going to be looking from a long distance away, all the way from Birmingham there. You can kind of note that this is already in a collapsing phase. So watch how I'll mark how high it is, and now it's kind of collapsing. So the heavier precipitation starting to fall out of that there, just north of US 82 in particular. And we check those latest threats as far as the severe weather potential is concerned out of this. Again, the Birmingham radar, and looking at threats where we did have a little bit of hail a couple minutes ago, still saying it's possible we could have a couple of hailstones there just to the east of Tibby, just southwest of the Stephen community there. Yeah, we're watching that, but again, this is not overly strong, and there's a little bit of a north movement on it, which is more than we could say on being able to track it a minute ago there. I'm going to track it. I don't know, we're going to get much show up here. I'll say 7 miles per hour. That's part of the reason why we're not putting storm tracks on these. They don't last a terribly long period of time. Bringing it back to the precipitation mode on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, the one up there closer to the Air Force Base on the south side there near Point Harbor, and even this one here, not really moving, maybe drifting northward at 3 to 4 miles per hour. There's already some rainfall over top of the base associated with that. Wider shot, stronger thunderstorms earlier on closer to Tuscaloosa out here, kind of lifting in. You can see there is legitimate motion here associated with that low pressure center we have kind of the northern part of the Gulf. We're looking a long, long ways away with this radar there, so it doesn't pick it up. You can just see generally there's that northward motion. We're hoping that's something as things try to consolidate that could bring us a slightly better chance for some rainfall, because we definitely need it. Out here toward Franklin County, Littleville, back toward Russellville and Bell Green. Again, just moderate rainfall, and even in comparison to the one we had down in Lowndes County, not a lot of significance with that at this point, thankfully. We're going to look for the Memphis radar and precipitation on the Memphis radar to kind of get some shots up in the northwest part of the state. So as we do that, one of the things I'm looking at here, let's bring it a little bit closer up toward around Helena. Again, that batch diminishing, but we do have some showers developing. There's kind of a little boundary here. Watch one more time with me in the loop. Just a little area there that's triggering some of these. So a possibility we could have additional storm development related to that in the next little bit. So watching that up toward Corinth, that storm diminishing, and there are a couple other toward Bruce we'll look at in just a second. But I wanted to get out here toward Cleveland. Again, some of those thunderstorms there kind of popping up. Heavy rainfall, certainly some lightning with that one as well, as that's kind of flaring up there near the Highway 61. As we check out the threats on that, the severe threats, just to kind of check it out, we do show just on the latest scan there, a littlest bit of hail, where you see the blue on there, maybe some half-inch hailstones with that starting to get slightly more organized, but no significant wind, and you can see the rating there on the DBZs, which is how much is reflected back toward it, kind of a sign with that. I'm going to go out here toward Greenville. I want to see if our camera there in Greenville has a shot of this. So give me just a moment for this to pop up here. As it does, you can see some heavier rainfall with that. Yeah, so we're kind of looking back into it. As if I step out of the way, you can always kind of see the angle these are moving. That's what that number is there. 360 degrees representing a circle. Your math lesson for the day, 90 is east. 0 is north, 180 is south, 270 is west. And so in this case, we are looking 71, so we're kind of looking back toward the east and into that heavier precipitation, which honestly looks a little bit more impressive on that camera than it did on radar a second ago. And the reason why is we're looking from so far away. I'm going to change this over. We're going to change the radar site down in Jackson. That will have us think a slightly better perspective on whether or not this one is strengthening a bit more. So from the Jackson radar site here, popping that up, yeah, you can see there's a little more heavy rainfall with that. So let's put this back into motion one more time, make it a 1 hour loop. Notice how if I put my finger right there, it's actually kind of back building. This is a scenario where somebody's getting all that rainfall we want to see, and it's all dumping on the exact same spot. Because if we check out how heavy that precipitation is here, let's go to the rainfall mode here, 3-hour rainfall. Again, adding up fairly quickly on that, where we show some of the darker greens up there closer to the Helm community. That's where we have almost an inch and a half estimations. Again, long ways away from the radar site. Estimations aren't perfect, but probably a little bit of jealousy going around related to that. Now, as far as severe weather is concerned for our areas, you can see we don't have an official severe weather threat from the folks up at the Storm Prediction Center either today, tomorrow, or the day after that. So it is mainly heavy rainfall that remains one of the bigger impacts that we could potentially see out of this. So looking at, in particular, give me a moment to see if I find the right one here on the precipitation. I think hydrology, what I'm looking for there. As far as excessive rainfall is concerned, where we're talking flooding rainfall, most likely to the east of us for today. We have the most limited, we'll say marginal threat for maybe some spotty flash flooding tomorrow, but it's not a high potential. And certainly as we go toward your Thursday, that threat remains somewhat limited as well. As we bring things back here to our cameras for a moment, we're looking live in the Cleveland area, showing some of the showers and thunderstorms we've had there around Cleveland at this time, showing up with the clouds and the heavy precipitation. Unfortunately, that reporting station down at the moment, but a lot of darker grays there indicating that rainfall that's so sought after by some folks. Also looks like some more rain showing up on the camera. We have a similar hazy sort of look down in the Macon area with some thunderstorms down south. I hope that 78's right there with that reporting station just a little bit south of the Macon area. I think that's still more the exception to the rule than the rule. We'll look at that in more detail here in a minute. Aberdeen, this is what most of us have. Ugh. 108, what it feels like. So if you don't have these storms over top of you, unfortunately, we have some negativity as far as that is concerned, just puffy cumulus clouds at this time. So this weekend, yeah, we're looking ahead toward the weekend. This is one of our big weather stories. I think that we turn off the tap or at least slowly kick it off from tomorrow. We're kind of at our peak. Still chances Thursday, and then less and less by Friday and into this upcoming weekend. With the drier air, I think that boosts our temperatures. We're into the mid to upper 90s. Could be close to the triple-digit point for some spots out there, as drier air, unfortunately, not yielding what a lot of folks want to deal with. Tomorrow, though, I think we're dry when the kids get picked up on that school bus forecast. 90 by the afternoon, similar to today. Some pop-up thunderstorms, so I expect probably a few more around for tomorrow afternoon than what we have had for today. That hour-by-hour forecast seeing a peak at around 90. Your lunchtime forecast around 88 degrees. So obviously heating up quickly, as has been the case recently, and continue with those rain chances to increase more as we head into your Wednesday evening. Here's Futurecast. And again, that zone we're looking at closer to Cleveland out there toward West Helena and Memphis. That is the zone where Futurecast picking up on those thunderstorms back there toward Greenwood as well. Does have a couple of these popping up, and I did miss this. Before we sign off, Gabe, you have to remind me, I need to go back and check out some of those storms trying to pop up closer to Bruce and New Albany. They're not impressive now, but I said we'd mention it. I didn't. So we're going to come back to the end. We're going to look at that here in a moment. And then, of course, doing a good job with the thunderstorms back out to the east. Okay, so Futurecast doing a decent job with what's out there now. What does it do with it from here? Continues to kind of pop up some of these very isolated. Well, you see there are some reds. So heavy rain producing thunderstorms from time to time. Overall coverage actually for our area increasing more by 8, 9, 10 p.m. Does have a couple like that one there getting fairly heavy. So a possibility of a couple strong wind gusts certainly there with this setup from Winona back toward Kosciuszko. We've shown those just as kind of this zone out here from, I would say, Batesville east to maybe Houston or even possibly Tupelo. So don't let Mrs. Lopon hear that. She'll get really excited about the rainfall. But some of those pop-up showers there, hopefully helping to water some of those gardens. And they diminish more as we head into the evening. And overnight, we show a few near the Tennessee state line. Most of our projections have had those overnight. Looking at the HRRR, which is one of the models we look at here very closely on Mississippi Live Weather. But as you can see, fairly spotty for the early morning hours. Low temperatures, we're looking at about 74 in Tupelo and Columbus, 73 degrees Grenada, 76 Greenville. Normal this time of year, around 72. So we are running just a little bit above that And those values start racing a little ahead over the next couple of days. So here's looking at Futurecast again. Spotty showers there, even a couple in the morning for tomorrow, but fairly limited in overall coverage. I'm going to wind things out just for you a moment, kind of show you the overall pattern. Of course, we do still have this front stalling out to the north, and we're watching this big batch of moisture closer to the coast. How much does that kind of fling up our direction? One of the things that hopefully increases some of our rainfall chances a little bit. But you'll see even through 1:30 tomorrow, we're really not showing a ton of activity out there. The majority actually more out to the east of us than over top of us. So here's a look at, again, spotty showers, maybe 1 o'clock. But notice how 2, 3 o'clock, I think we have maybe just in time, just enough heating to pop up these thunderstorms close to Kosciuszko, out toward around Winona. We show a few closer to Bruce and a couple up toward around Boonville. Notice how the coverage, again, kind of maintains and increases through 5 to 6 o'clock. So it is later into tomorrow afternoon to evening that these rain chances get stronger. And we do have a couple of these where you have some of the darker red showing up on there, a possibility, a couple strong wind gusts. I would say that is the exception to the rule, but it's something that I can't rule out for tomorrow, that we have a couple of those, that one near Hamilton as well showing up. So a couple of these a little bit heavier and high temperatures. Again, this affected, this kind of, I think, pulling off to a certain extent the temperatures in the afternoon there. That's why these mid 80s I expect will probably be a little bit hotter than that for some of these locations out here near the Mississippi-Alabama state line. The mid 90s back west, yeah, we're coming up Greenwood at 96, 96 Belzona, and 94 there in Cleveland, with heat indices up near 105 in Clarksdale, 104 in Cleveland. One of the things that we will monitor closely going into this upcoming weekend, as temperatures increase more, the heat indices will as well, but I don't know that we talk about as significant of a peak because, again, the drier air helping us there. Wet bulb globe used for determining how significant heat injury could be. In the high category, this is lower, depicted a bit lower than what it was yesterday for Wednesday. So keep that in mind. We've trended that back just a little bit. Now, Futurecast showing again those isolated, the scattered showers and thunderstorms. Again, one of our best rain chances over at least the next week. It's still kind of popping up around the area by your Wednesday afternoon. Again, there's this zone here that this shows up on this particular projection where some of those try to then expand back southward. So that shows you the disorganization when at the beginning of the day, they're all kind of moving sort of northeast, and then they kind of expand southward. We typically expect that in disorganized and primarily non-severe thunderstorms like this. So there is no tornado threat. Even if we get something strong, no tornado threat out of this. They're just too disorganized for that. Agree, Gabe? Agree. Okay. Just wanted a second opinion on that as well. So early morning Thursday, again, a couple pop-up showers there. Notice a couple more depicted by 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning. Strike model is always a little bit aggressive on these summertime thunderstorms. We're hopeful that we get maybe more, but yeah, you can still see some of those out there. 30 to maybe 40% on that rain coverage trying to pop up by 3, 4, 5 o'clock on your Thursday, possibly continuing into your Thursday evening and possibly Thursday night as well. High temperatures, as you'll note here, 93 in Water Valley and Grenada, 94 degrees in Greenwood, low 90s. I mean, this is spot on for what we typically expect for this time of year. And heat indices, similar values. You notice they come down perhaps a little bit. If we get a few extra showers and thunderstorms developing earlier, maybe that holds heat indices back just a little bit. But for most locations, around the 100-degree point, but nothing excessive. And that wet bulb globe temperature looking better than it did yesterday. This is an improvement. We had some spots in that extreme. We had quite a bit of this in the red farther east. We're hoping that that drier air component is a part of this, because then when you sweat, if it evaporates, then that cools you off. So there are some things working in our favor there, but I think that drier air, when we look at that 20% chance for rainfall, we need some rainfall. By Friday, we start turning that off, and as we do, notice temperatures are higher. 94 for Friday, 96 for Saturday, and 97 degrees as we look towards Sunday. That hotter forecast for the weekend, the drier air, I mean, making it good if you're going to the lake, going to the pool. I think this largely looks like it's in pretty good shape because of that. So we have an improvement with very, very limited chances for rainfall into the first part of next week. You reminding me? Yes. Yeah, Gabe's making sure that I'm paying attention there. Yeah, we'll look toward Bruce and some of those other folks. So big headline. If we're going to pick up more meaningful rainfall, it's going to have to be the next couple of days that ends up happening here, because beyond that, the pattern does not shift in our favor, and obviously it gets a lot hotter. Okay, we're going to try to check out some of those spots we were talking about a minute ago. So we kind of left it on the flash flood threat there. Let's look and see where we had a couple of those popping up. Before we go there, that storm north of Cleveland's got a little bit stronger as well. That one, let's Let's take a good look at this, and we're going to check the various threats. I think Jackson threats. Yeah, see, that's gotten a little bit stronger where you see that darker blue there. It says, again, this is, my head covers this up from time to time, but this is the peak threats. So most of the time it's going to be less than this. But what's kind of the worst case scenario on this? It's a possibility maybe we have some 1-inch hail on that. Now, I think that is way overdoing it, but it is a sign that a couple of hailstones could be coming out of that because that's a fairly hefty little storm there. Checking wind, again, too far away from the radar site to get a good lock on that, but that's to be expected a lot of times when we're talking out in this zone here. Let's look three-dimensionally on it, and we do, as we kind of cut into this, have a pretty decent little core showing up on that. So zoom it in just a little bit more. And let's kind of cut through this. We can do this kind of CAT scan here to cut around the outside. Yeah, we do have some of those pinks there in the middle showing up. That's fairly decent. Yeah, we'll check out that Cleveland Skycam. Do you have it pointed the right way, Gabe?
I think the North Mississippi Storm Chasers are adjusting it as need be.
Okay, well, let's look at that camera there. So that's what it looks like to the naked eye. And then, oh, I don't have it on that map there. I'm gonna have to pull it in the hard way. Give me a moment. So this kind of pop in, see if it'll work. Give me a moment for that to do its thing.
You want me to try and rotate it?
No. I mean, I think that does a good job of kind of illustrating what we've got there because whereas the beginning of the show, when we look through this, and I might have been the beginning of Maine weather, yeah, I am going to try to rotate it. Hold on. Pull up Cleveland here. And let's rotate that just a little bit back to the north. Okay, so you can see, well, maybe, again, we've kind of done most of the stuff, so now we're in a typical, weathercast, we would have tossed things, so now we're in bonus coverage, for lack of a better way to put it. So notice how your visibility goes down when you look there into the distance, right? You used to be able to see, trees and even some fields beyond that, and it gets grayer and grayer because there are more raindrops between you and where we're looking at this from the camera location and so that makes it hazier because we're looking in that heavier precipitation. I'm going to widen this all the way back out, and I'm going to have a shot more of the tower, unfortunately, but we'll kind of pan that back to the left there because one thing that I can see is the edge of what could be that hail core there. Yeah, let's pan this up here. So what we're looking at, there we are, perfect. So sometimes storm chasers and meteorologists will call this a rain foot, right? It looks like it kind of extends out there. We watch this front edge here to see if it's kicking out stronger wind gusts, because this will hit the ground and then go out, and so that's where you'll get your gust from. When we're tracking those green lines, those outflow boundaries on radar, that's an example of what this would look like. So that is that rain, cooled air kind of spreading out from it. There's probably also some hail in this here. Can't say for sure, but yeah, I mean, even some of that precipitation there, sometimes you get some streamers ahead there, have some hailstones with it. A lot of times when you're talking about a hail situation, you can see there that camera is jostling around a little bit. So those stronger wind gusts are definitely hitting it a little bit greater than the 8 miles per hour. Unfortunately, that doesn't update nonstop there. But yeah, that's definitely jostled around a little bit. So I'm going to bring this back over here to our Mississippi Live weather radar, the regular version here. So give it a second for that to pop back up. And I'm going to bring this back to 3D mode for a moment and do a cut into this. I'm going to slice if it'll let me. Hold on. I'm going to pull that back down, pull it up. Slice. Yes. No. Okay, well, there's 3D. And no, I need 3D there. I'm feeling you. I'm feeling it. There we are. Okay, let's zoom things back out. Okay, so this, again, not super high with the heaviest part there. So so I would say looking at that, and so 30,000 feet's up there. I don't know, that's really, really heavy close to the ground. A lot of times, if we were going to see this produce hail, we would expect it to be a little, I'm gonna take it back a couple scans here. I wanna, hold on, there we go. but that also might have been exaggerating it. So we're back here at 516, right? That pink there, that is whatever the best that this has with it. This is 30,000 feet. I think this is every 5,000 feet, so that'd be 25,000, so 20,000 feet up. So again, we're looking 4 miles up in a thunderstorm here. But that heaviest pink that you see there, notice how you see a trend, how that is heading down. And it was even more bright right there. I wonder if this will let me query something that's in 3D. Nope, it won't. Okay, anyway. That is, we can see that hail. That is the hail and whatever this is producing collapsing down close to the surface. There, let's cut right into there. Sometimes this is even the best way to show it. So we'll go back a couple scans, show that hail kind of forming there, and then whoop, falls right back out. In these air mass thunderstorms, this will eventually kill the whole thunderstorm. So it falls out and it pushes the warmer air that it would ingest into it far enough out that the thunderstorm falls apart. When that process, it kicks out its strongest winds. So I would say right now, and I'm gonna again go back to that camera because I'm interested to see it, that I would say as of right now, that storm is probably at its peak. Whatever it's gonna do, if it's gonna kick out some strong or severe wind gusts, it's probably doing it right now. Bring this back over here, and we're going to kind of pan that camera just a little bit to the right to kind of look more toward the heart of it. Oop. Oh, I went too far. Sorry. It'll catch back up. So we're looking kind of right in the heart of it. It's the least interesting look we can get on this. But I would say that the fact I even see something that's a little lighter gray up here tells me that that heaviest precipitation has probably hit the ground and spreading out. And so I'd say some 40, 45 mile per hour winds, certainly a possibility out of this moving through the Cleveland area. This is about the kind of the peak of what these storms is going to be capable of today. And you're seeing it right here live on this camera with Mississippi Live Weather at 5 o'clock. So back over here, the precipitation mode. Now for the thing I actually promised I'd actually do, which was look at some of those other developing thunderstorms there. Sorry, I got up. Hopefully that was a learning experience that, you know, when you're looking at radar, and I want the perfect scenario, everyone would learn how to look at radar kind of like we do here, and, you know, help yourself while we're doing this, but obviously we'll be here to help you out. But we just like to kind of inform and educate whenever we can. Precipitation mode from the Birmingham radar, yep, too far away, don't really have it. So now we're going to come up here to those storms basically down there toward Caledonia. They've all kind of fallen apart. Let's look up toward Memphis and precipitation mode there. We did, it looked like briefly have something trying to pop up here. Put this back into play mode. This is what kind of caught my attention earlier. Yeah, for the briefest moment, yeah, some of those trying to pop up, and now they've kind of fallen apart. Maybe the better way to show that would be using visible satellite. I'll try this a couple different ways. We'll see if any of the meso regions are over us. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to change this to where it goes as bright as it can go. So there's, again, more of a significant feature there associated with some of that lighter rainfall. And then we've just had this area kind of out here where we've had more sunshine, and that's what's helped thunderstorms pop up. That extra bit of sunshine has destabilized the atmosphere some, and so that's why a couple of those have popped up. Okay, with that in mind, I think we have probably assessed. I'm going to double check for some questions here since we've gone over anyway. Might as well check and see if we've got any of those. Appreciate everyone for watching. Still up on our end. Oh, that was me. Lots of rain. Hoping one of these thunderstorms sit over our house. I'm hoping that it'll sit over the house too. Seems like that's what a lot of folks are saying. Yep. So anyway, we'll hope that's the case. Of course, we'll hope you'll join us once again during our 6 o'clock broadcast for Mississippi Live Weather. iOS, Android, the way in which you can pull us up on the apps, and we appreciate all the folks that do that. At 6 o'clock, again, I'll bring on our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor. He'll be looking at a few things. Hopefully we'll get an update on that Monroe County radar site, or at least the latest we've got out at NWS Chat. We'll have that for you in Mississippi Live Weather at 6. We'll see you then.
See it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.